everybody. I'm back. Third time's the charm. So my very good friend, mentor, mommy mentor, soul sister, soul family member, Mika Bellapede Olivier. You're going to say your whole name, Olivier, because I don't always say it perfectly. But you're here here tonight to share a conscious conversation with me. Thank you so much. You are my second person to share one with. And she is an author, speaker, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and former UCSD teacher. She is one of the reasons that I know any of the spiritual stuff that you guys ask me about. She is the first life coach that I've ever had in my life. She is one of the most important people in my life, and she has an enormous amount of things to share. So when I said to her years ago, hey, I'm going to do this conscious conversation things, and I brought it back up again, she's like, let's do it. I'm in. I would love to be a part of it. So thank you for being here. And I want to just hear a little bit about your background, just to give some framework for everybody. And then, of course, I would love to share how we met and some of our stories as well. But just give us a little background around who you are and how you got here. I know it's a huge question.
Okay, well, there's usually two resumes. There's the teaching / business entrepreneurial resume, and then there's the spiritual one. So to recap, I taught at UCSD. For all the UCSD students that will hear this, shout out to you guys. I was there for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I taught in the business program, and I've started, let's see, how many companies my lifetime? Maybe 6. Mm-hmm. 6 plus a nonprofit for children. Mm-hmm. Let's see. And I was a teacher for over 30 years. I still teach, but now I'm technically retired, and I write, and I sometimes speak at conferences. I just recently started the Miracle Catcher Book Club.
Yay!
And I invite everybody watching to tune in this Sunday, episode 2. Spiritually, my journey is quite long and vast. Mm-hmm. I would say it started at a very early age, but I won't go back that far. I spent about 10 years as a holistic health practitioner. I did hypnotherapy, Reiki, neuro-linguistic programming, and then later I studied IET, which is integrated energy technique, and also sound healing.
Yeah, all modalities, many modalities.
And I've been very blessed. I wrote about it in my book, to be able to study a lot of Eastern spiritual secrets, shamanic secrets from Native American traditions, Kabbalistic traditions. I'm basically one of those people that wants to study and learn everything and then pass it on to as many people as I can. So that's a short recap.
That is a short recap for sure. And that is exactly who you are on this planet. I want to give you guys just a little framework around how I met Mika, because she is the first person that made me see, she's one of the first people in my life that made me see, like, oh, this is what sort of soul family is like. And this is kind of how it works when you meet someone and you know that you've known them for many lifetimes and you have that instant connection, or you tap into your intuitiveness and you just go for it. So the first night I met Mika, I was going through a very challenging breakup. We were just trying to figure out the years. I was 30 years old. I was about to be 31. I was still very sad about a breakup that I had. And I walked into a women's group. It was a women's event for women, and it was actually for men. So we were all together. I got asked on this wonky invitation that one of my friends sent me, we're not allowed to really know what this is about, but we're just gonna dress up and show up, and there's gonna be a bunch of men there. And I was like, okay, great, let's do it. And I showed up, and it was a women's event for a post-man's event. And so they had learned a bunch of stuff around how to be masculine and how to be around women. And we were supposed to be there and just be there and let them be masculine men with us. I don't know. You can share what your version of it was, but that's how I remember it. And when you walked in the room, you were in that navy blue dress, that royal blue dress. And as soon as I saw you, I was like, she has great energy. I have to meet that person. it was weird. It has not, I hadn't experienced that before. One other person in my life I really felt that way about. And that was it. It was just like a thought that just flowed through my head. And I didn't really do much with it. And then we had to do this first. That was my first event where I had ever had to do an eye gazing exercise. You've done a million of those. I still don't love eye gazing exercises. It's basically, for those of you who don't know, you look at someone's eyes, you don't say anything to them, and you know, try to express your feelings through your eye gaze. And we had to do this, and Mika was the last person that did this exercise with me. She held we had to hold hands and eye gaze and express something without saying anything. And I started crying. And at that point, I hadn't cried in like 10 years. Like, I was kind of cut off from crying. And I said, I was really embarrassed about it. And I said to her, like, I don't know what's happening right now. I'm really sorry. This is fucking weird. And she said, oh, I'm a healer. It's okay. This happens all the time. It's okay. You've just healed something, and walked away.
I don't remember the walking away part.
You did, but you were just like, oh, I just healed something. No big deal. And you just kept like moving on with your day, is how I remember it. Of course, this is just my perspective. And I ended up finding her, and I got her card, and I called her, and she ended up being my coach. And there's so many stories around how perfect timing and the soul people that are planted in your life that move you forward in your life. And that's who you've been to me. So I just want to express that and say thank you for that. But also just, you have been one of the biggest teachers of my life around energy and happiness and being on purpose and doing what you're meant to do, but also around perfect divine timing. And your son is a perfect example for that. So I would love to hear that part of your story as well. That whatever you're sort of in the flow to share here.
I remember the event. I thought it was a lot of fun. I'll go back to that. I remember you looking into my eyes, and I remember you know, having the gush of the tears. I'm positive that I probably gave you a big hug, since I'm a big hugger, and you know, and said it's all good. I believe that one of the things that I love to like really talk about these days is what's called holding space for other people. And it's actually a way of being. It's a way of being so that the other person feels so relaxed and so safe that whatever is like inside just comes out. And there's no judgment. You know, I believe that working with people and listening to some of their deepest, darkest wounds has allowed me to just also be a presence, that it's like, it's okay to tell me what's really going on with you.
Yeah.
I was asked recently about what's going on in the world right now, and you know, the slowing down and being at home, and that's what I actually spoke about. I said it's a really great opportunity for all of us to really be more present to what we're actually feeling, instead of being distracted by so many things, and just really being with what we feel. And so that example that you gave about just, you know, meeting somebody that's a stranger and looking in their eyes and just suddenly feeling like, oh my God, I can just let down my guard and be myself. That is absolutely who I want to be in the world for, you know, for everyone that around me.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna say, spiritually or energetically, what that takes is takes a lot of authenticity.
Sure.
So one of the things that I would love for people to kind of like a little takeaway from listening to me today is you can only be as authentic with me as I can be with myself.
Sure.
And for some people that is a new concept. You know, a lot of us grew up, or we heard, especially women, that we have to put on all these masks.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we have to put on makeup, we have to dye our hair, and you know, do our nails. And I've seen a lot of posts lately about people not being able to go to the hairdresser or the nail salon, and like, oh my God, I can't go out of the house. And I was thinking to myself, but it's kind of really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's really good, and it's really good in a way that people are going to be kind of forced into being more authentically themselves.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So that is definitely something I want to speak more about and teach more about, is especially for women. I think it's important for people that are watching this, that have never met me and haven't read my book, how important I think it is for women to love themselves
Mm-hmm.
and accept themselves and take off all these layers of
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
I used to have a lot of judgment, and perfectionism.
Mm-hmm.
Now most people watching this don't know that I'm 52. I had my baby when I was 51.
Mm.
Um, but it took many years to let go of the things that I had accumulated from my society, from my family, from my ancestors, from my cultural upbringing, letting go of all the things that weren't really me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing that if I could teach everybody that, it would be huge.
Yeah.
If we could just all do like a giant global exhale of like, wouldn't it be nice if I could just be more of myself?
Hmm.
That would really transform the planet radically.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So let's go back a little bit, because you are a part of one of the people that I talk about. I have a lot of friends. I have some very important women in my life who are going through this, hey, biological clock ticking situation, and often ask me how I feel on this topic. And I refer back to you and one other friend of mine that is going to be on here as well, who did these things, what we would consider by society standards today, later in life. And those stories, your story primarily, is something that causes me to just take that deep exhale. Like, hey, this all happens when it's supposed to. And there's no reason to rush this, because it's all perfect divine timing and it's all possible. And this idea that we still put on women in 2020, that there's so much timing that we have to be fearful around, is just the exact opposite of what we need to do, because it's just doesn't support us in any way. And I think that's one of the biggest lessons you've taught me is trusting in perfect divine timing. And so how what do you think when you talk about this? And I know you talk about it a lot, when it comes to this age around, I had my baby at 51, right? And I got married at 50 on my birthday, right? What is the biggest, what is the advice that you give to somebody who's 35, who's like, my clock is ticking and I'm scared about this kind of stuff?
Good. Well, I wrote several chapters in my book about fertility, specifically because it's something that I don't like to say the word expert, but I spent so many years studying health and fertility, hormones. And I wanted to I wanted so many women to be able to hear that. I mean, I don't want to go into a lot of the technical stuff right now, but I'll just like speak to like everyone that's listening, including men. The paramount message is that when we rush things, we break them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna like just pause on that, because I say that a lot in business too. Rushing is expensive. There
Mm-hmm.
were times when like I really pushed to have a baby and I spent a lot of money and it didn't work. I was exhausted, pissed off, upset, ready to give up. So for those of you that haven't read my story yet, you'll see that this didn't all happen overnight. I didn't just wake up like oming and like in perfect meditative peace. I spent I think it was about the time that I hit 40. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, certainly I'd had a lot of successes in my life and I knew how to manifest things, but when I hit 40, I like really hit a wall. Like, why is this not happening for me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do I keep meeting the same kind of person? Why do I keep having the same challenge? There was nothing wrong with me physically. And I've always been in really great health. what I learned, both from a health aspect, a holistic health aspect, and also from a spiritual aspect, is that most people that are having imbalances in their health right now, or big ones, small ones, even the COVID issue, I can speak to that with this point, is that the body is a miracle. It was built to be miraculous. It knows what to do. We have an immaculate immune system that knows how to fight all invaders. Period. We have a fertility system that was designed to like create life in such a beautiful and perfect way. So like that's really important that people really hear me and get that. Your body knows exactly what to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything that is not that is man-made, and it's usually fear-based, and it's probably been told to you by somebody else and you believed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll give you one really great example. Let me just think. Oh, there was a movie I watched recently. It came out of China. I forget the name right now, but I watched it on Netflix. But it was such a perfect example of this. There was the grandmother in the family has been diagnosed with like stage 4 terminal cancer. But the family doesn't tell her.
Wow.
And they all come to China from America, from other countries, all the grandchildren, everybody comes. And this is actually based on a true story, by the way. I think it's something called like maybe Goodbye, or I don't know. You can find it on Netflix. But it has a great point. The girl who's the main character lives in New York, and she comes to China and she's like, we should tell her. We should tell her. I want to say goodbye to her. This is not fair. And all the more older Chinese children were like, no, that's selfish. That's selfish to tell her. Yeah. So they have this wedding. They have this wedding, and all the relatives come to celebrate the wedding because they're all coming to see the grandmother because they think she's dying. But they want her to have like a happy celebration. And so I'm watching this movie and I'm kind of just laughing, and I'm thinking, this is a really interesting spiritual question.
Yeah.
And the man, the father in the movie says these words, which is what I would use to teach my students or people that I was speaking to in a conference. I would use these exact same words. He says, in China, we believe that fear kills people. I absolutely believe that. It's fear that makes people sick, and lowers their immune system. It's fear that makes people infertile and blocks their pregnancies. There's all kinds of things that fear does, but it's all chaotic and negative. So long story short, I really don't want to give this movie away, but I kind of have to since I brought it up, is that at the end of the movie, you see everybody getting on the plane and leaving, and they're all sad because they have to hug the grandma goodbye, and they can't tell her that they might not ever see her again. Very end, you see this little like subtitle thing that goes off, that, you know, like fade to black, and it says Nai Nai, which is her name, like grandma. Nai Nai lived, is still alive now, and it's been 6 years.
No kidding. Wow. That's beautiful.
And I'm just at the end like this, like, oh my God, it's so true. So they never told her that she had terminal cancer, and she's still alive, and she's a real person. You know, she's happy.
Well, this is like a real story.
It is. And that's why I love it, because you asked me about my fertility. I wrote about this in my book on purpose because I lived in Asia. And, you know, there's that whole chapter about the palm reader in China. I remember reading my palm going, oh my God, you're so fertile. You know, you need to use birth control. I wrote that in my book. I was like, I never believed that I was infertile, ever. And I still don't. I mean, people ask me now, are you going to have another baby? I'm like, okay, if I can keep up with my toddler.
Right.
but no, I never believed in infertility. I don't believe in illness. For those of you, that don't know, I also had cancer. I had cancer in my cervix when I was 30. It's never come back. I don't use the C word. I don't use the CV word for all the people that are understanding what I'm saying. There's just words I don't use. And so to give everybody another tool that's a very deep and profound spiritual practice, but very simple, is do not say things that you do not want to create.
Yeah.
And I remind Natalie of this often. Do not
sure.
say that.
Yeah.
Do not say that you're infertile. Do not say that you have cancer. These things. I wish that I could really help people understand how powerful their words are. And I always say this. I always say your cells are listening to everything you say.
Yeah.
I don't believe in aging. People ask me like, what are you doing? I'm like, I just don't believe in it.
This is true too. I have to share this with you guys too, because I have so many good stories over the last couple of years. But another one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Mika on was because of her insight and her perspective on manifesting and manifesting miracles. And that is sort of what she, her phrase is, she is called miracle catcher. And there's a reason for that. She creates miracles. And when I first met her and I had my coaching sessions, I would go to her house and I would go, I had to walk through this one area of the house to get to the bathroom, and I would go there, every time I was there. And she had a vision board up, and I had done vision boards. I was used to The Secret by this point, but I didn't really know whether I believed in it or not. It was all sort of like, I didn't know, right? It was many years ago. And there was this very handsome man on her vision board, and I would walk by it every week, and I would look at this vision board with this vision on it of this man that she wanted to meet, and I would be like, yeah, everybody wants to meet that dude. He looks like all of our husbands. Like, it's a perfect looking dude. I think it was a famous person. I can't remember now.
I'm going to tell the Patrick Dempsey story after you finish.
Okay. I love that you're talking about Patrick Dempsey, because I just posted him for no good reason on my story on Instagram. And I did not know it was this guy. I just remember it being a super handsome dude. And a couple of years later, she had moved, she was in LA and I had moved to LA too. And I came over for dinner, and she had met this person, and I was coming to meet him. And when I saw him, I started crying, and it was embarrassing. And I was embarrassed by it because I still wasn't super tapped into these emotions, but he looked like the dude that was on the vision board.
Yeah, that was the Hugh Jackman vision board that I sent you. He looks exactly like that one vision board that I made.
He really does. Yeah. And it's, it was a vision board that I saw for a long time. And I wanted that to be real for you because I loved you and I knew you deserved it. And it was. And it was all a manifestation of yours. And it was just like this incredible thing for a student to be able to witness.
Right. And that's really, I would say that's really a fair and accurate description of, like, I created it. Yes. At the same time, I really want people to understand that we're all always creating everything.
Right. Which is why I tell the story.
All of us.
This is a fun story.
Most people just don't know. They don't know that they're creating it. So I just do it more actively and more consciously than most people. So I don't know if you remember the post that I wrote, but I am going to tell a funny little story here. I love to tell funny little stories. So I used to make vision boards, and I used to cut out the face of the man. And, so anybody that hasn't made vision boards, I host vision board parties all the time. And so I just want to say that it's really important if you put yourself in your vision board. How many people make vision boards and they don't put one picture of themselves in it? I'm like, that's not your life because you're not in it.
Yeah, I love that. Mm-hmm.
So I always post, I always put a picture of me in the middle, and then maybe I'll cut out, I used to cut out the man that I envisioned as being the man that would be my soulmate, and then, paste it right next to my face. But a lot of people forget to do that. They forget to put their face in the picture. So For many years, I would cut out the face of Patrick Dempsey.
I would put a picture of me in the middle.
This is why I didn't play it. Anyway, keep going. Sorry, we have comments coming up.
It's all right. It's all right. So here's a funny story for the people watching this. It's true, totally true. My husband and I love to go to Hawaii. We got married in Hawaii, and we were in line at LAX. I don't remember if it was our first trip to Hawaii or maybe our second one. And guess who's in line next to me, like taking their shoes off to go through the security monitor? It's Patrick Dempsey.
That's crazy. I love
and this is my husband, and this is true. And people, like, don't take this the wrong way, everybody, because I mean it like with a good, authentic heart. So there's my husband standing next to me, taking his shoes off, and literally on the other side of me is Patrick Dempsey. Like, no joke. And I'm looking back and forth at them, and I was like, I think I got the better deal.
You did. Sure.
And I'm sure his wife is very happy too with the deal that she got. But it was such a surreal moment about how, people hear about the law of attraction. Sometimes, they're like, oh, I manifested a cup of coffee. But like, to literally see the person that I cut out his little face many years in a row and pasted it on my vision board, and then to have him standing right next to me, and then my husband on the left, I was like, wow, this is kind of surreal.
It's so awesome.
So I love to share that with people, because a lot of people say, okay, well, you manifest things because you're like a miracle catcher. And I was like, yeah, but we all manifest things all the freaking time. Yeah. I've been manifesting some stuff since I was a kid. I just didn't call it that. And a lot of people have manifested a lot of SHIT.
Yeah.
Especially right now, because that's what they're thinking about all the time. And so that's why I came out of retirement. I spent a year writing and editing a book, take time away from my beautiful baby boy, because I really want people to understand. One of my pet peeves right now is some of the things that I see people posting about how, like, this other spirit, whatever you want to call it, higher power, God, whatever you want to call it, is punishing us. And that is just not my hide. It makes me upset, because it shows me how much people do not understand that there's no like big man in the sky, like on a big white throne saying like, okay, people, now I'm going to punish you. No.
Yeah.
We are creating all of it. We humans. And that is the thing that I will say, not only every day until I leave this body, but I will write it down and keep writing it and writing it and writing, so I leave a huge legacy. We are creating all of it. All of it, all the time, good and bad.
So just so we're clear, because I want to make sure that we clarify this too, is like, what is your sense around universe, divine, like release, higher power? Like, what is your feeling on that? Because this conversation, what you just said, makes it sound like, well, it's all us. It's all us doing it all the time, and there is no. But I know that's not really what you think too, that you believe in divine and creation from a divine perspective too.
Well, I spend a lot of time in my garden. And I grow fruit, and that was on my wish list. I made a vision board about my garden. So I like to use the example of fruit trees to keep it really simple. So my understanding of God, spirit, creator, the manager upstairs, sometimes I use that phrase, is imagine like a fruit tree. I always say God is super generous and doesn't hold back on anything.
Yeah.
So if you have a fruit tree, most people that have fruit trees like growing in their garden or whatever, their grandmother's garden or in the park, or even just leaves, like look at how many seeds, how many pieces of fruit, how many leaves. Like go into a garden or a jungle, or spend some time out in nature and really look around. And
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, really, do I think that God is a stingy God?
Yeah.
There's just no such thing. If
Yeah,
people
I
that
agree.
spend time out in nature,
Yeah.
that's the sad part, is that a lot of people aren't going out into nature anymore, or spend time around a baby. I just did a podcast recently where I said, my baby doesn't think about why he's loved.
Yeah. Hmm.
He's just loved because he is, and that's how I see God.
Yeah, I agree with this. I love
We're
that.
just, and I see the creator God as a very loving source that wants to give us everything all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to use this analogy, I think I used this when I was teaching you, is that imagine God being Niagara Falls.
Mm-hmm.
That's the supply. Go and watch a video of Iguazu or Niagara Falls and look at the power and the force of the flow of the water. That's how much God would love to give to us.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing blocking it is us and our limiting beliefs.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I love that analogy.
So when I say it's all us creating it, I'm talking about pandemics. I'm talking about frustration, depression, suicidal thoughts, anger, guilt, shame. That's on us.
Mm-hmm.
On us as humans.
Yeah.
There are many things that I learned to be ashamed of and guilty from my family.
Yeah.
God loved them. They were just passing on what they thought was best. But, like you've heard that expression of with a big helping of guilt with it.
Sure. Yeah.
When I say it's all on us, I mean, it's all our responsibility to change it.
Mm-hmm.
The creator can give us like anything we can imagine. That's why when people wanted to fly and other people laughed in their face and said that's impossible, it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're creating the reality with what we believe is possible.
Yeah.
But the biggest stumbling block that I encounter right now in 2020, even in myself,
Mm-hmm.
is where do I limit the creator?
Yeah, this is what I keep hearing over and over again from you is like we can tap in, we can connect, we can expect that we're fully loved and fully whole and complete, and get the resource and the energy and the light work from that being tapped in and connected, but we continue to get in our way of that.
Well, I used this when somebody asked me to draw a picture of this. I was like, okay, imagine a little figure of a little body. I don't have something to draw on right now, but imagine you had like this pipeline coming out of your center.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, imagine if it's a little straw, or imagine it's like a big, huge, giant like pipeline. And then imagine if there's a clog in it.
Mm-hmm.
So the size of the flow and like how many blocks there are in it. Money's like that.
Yeah.
Sex is like that. Health is like that. It's all the same pie.
Mm.
Some people are like great at manifesting money, but they don't have any love. Some people have a lot of love and no money. And I always say it's the same pie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You have a belief that it's not.
Yeah, it all starts back with those tricky beliefs.
I always say the ego is a tricky bastard.
It sure is.
Because it hides in a lot of places. And so my big question every morning, if I could offer this to everyone watching, is please ask yourself this morning, tomorrow morning, and every morning, please ask yourself this one question: where am I limiting myself?
Mm.
Because that's really what miracles are about. Miracles are not complicated. It's not complicated to manifest miracles. I hate to break it to everybody, but it's not. I just have to get my garbage out of the way, and then it just happens.
Yeah. So when you ask yourself that question, if you're somebody who has just starting down this track, or who doesn't quite understand how energy works and manifestation and miracles and all this stuff, you're still learning, like who I was 6 years ago when we met. And I asked you that question. Okay, now what? I'm doing this thing. I'm asking, okay, where am I limiting myself? And I could tell you 5 different ways where I'm limiting myself, because I'm super good at telling myself that I'm challenged in 5 different ways. Right?
It's part of your, and you know, and for some people, it's part of their identity. It's so ingrained that some people might even get angry at me.
Sure, of course. I used
for
to.
even bringing it up. It's like, how dare you like break down my identity of being a victim? I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I want people to be happier. So happy people don't get sick. Happy people don't fight wars. You know, happy people are kinder, more gentle. So where would I start? I would say to people, pick one limiting belief at a time.
Yeah.
One. That's it. Start with one. I'll give you an example of mine. My parents were divorced when I was young. They had a very, let's say, toxic marriage. The one thing that I started doing about how many years ago was it? I wrote about it in the book. At least 10 or 15 years ago, I decided to change my mantra that, you know, marriage is happy. Marriage is fun. I heard somebody say to me recently, like, parenting is easy. Parenting is fun. Like, that's not what most people are saying.
Yeah.
So I would say to people, pick one area where you're super uber challenged, where you have a lot of frustration,
where you
and find one belief that could possibly be a bit of a blocker. And like, I'll give you some examples. Some people just think like good things happen to other people and not to them. They could just simply start saying every day, good things happen to me too. When I wanted to have a baby, and I would see all these people that were parenting, and maybe poorly, you know, abandoning their children, abusing their children, complaining about their children. And I was like begging the Creator God every single day, please help me be pregnant. I used to say, why God, why them and not me? But that was the wrong question. It's not the right question to be asking. It's a waste of time. The better question was, when I started to think, was what God has done for others, he or she, whatever you want to call it, or it, will do for me and more. That's a mantra I got from a very wonderful book called, what's it called? Your Word is Your Wand by Frances Scovel Shin. She wrote it over 100 years ago.
Your word.
What God has done for me,
I love
he
that.
will do. No, what God has done for others, he will do for me and more.
I love that.
So I started saying that. I was like, look at all these babies God has made. Look, there's millions of babies being born every day on the planet. So why would I be the one person to be singled out to not get one? That's awesome. Ridiculous. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. That's how the ego works. It says, it tries to get us to believe things that are absolutely ridiculous.
I agree. So how do you think there's one thing, and I think this is like we kind of coming to our wrap up soon here, and I would love to ask you, is there one thing, and I've asked you this before, and it was about a year ago, so it could maybe have changed or be different, but is there something that you think you did like to shift when you finally made all of this happen? I know it's a succession of things. I know that you did a ton of work over a ton of years and had a ton of experiences, but do you think there's one thing where you were like, oh, I remember that was the day or that was the moment where something shifted that caused me to move in a really
different way?
Sometimes these are tiny shifts.
I could probably even pinpoint them to you. Two different things I would say to that. The day that I met I went on the first date with my husband, I was actually in a very different mindset that I had been for a very long time. So I'll speak to that one for you because I know it's a big topic for you, near and dear to your heart. So, and I teach this to a lot of people now, is that some of us, like I just said, are asking the wrong questions.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask all you want, you'll get all kinds of answers, but you're wasting your time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just speak to this one because I know we only have a little bit of time left. So let's say you're on a date, Natalie, Susie.
Mm.
Most people are asking, like, does this person like me?
Yeah.
Are they gonna message me? I know that many women, are sometimes way ahead of the game on the first date. Like, could I see myself married to this person? What would our children look like? Most people won't tell you that, but it's actually happening in their heads. Happened in my head a million times.
Yeah.
One of the greatest shifts that happened inside of me before I manifested the things that were difficult for me to manifest is that I was asking the wrong way. I was asking, like, does this person love me or does this person like me? And that's the wrong question, everybody. The right question is like, and I always say it really succinctly when people ask me, what should I tell my daughter? What should I tell my sister? What should I tell my friend who really wants to manifest their soulmate? I say, make your life so freaking awesome that people are lining up to be in it.
Yep. I remember you had me do this one exercise. This was again many years ago because I think, we're talking about you right now, and someday we'll talk about me more in this space too. But the way that you taught me some of the things, this exercise I do with my clients now, and I do it for all areas because it shifted so much for me. And I hated doing it when you had me do it, but it was, I was 31, so it was 6 years, many years ago at this point. And I had just come out of a breakup and I was very sad. And you had me do this exercise. The person that gets to date me, or the person that gets to be my boss, the person that gets to be my roommate, whatever the thing is you're trying to manifest, is the luckiest person on the planet because. And you had me fill in all these things that made me see myself in the best light, 5 years ago. And you had me do this, what they say about you and how they feel about you, and the beautiful things that you're really looking for when you're looking for a partnership, right? You want love, you want connection, you want to match somebody and give that back, and all these beautiful things, right? And you had me record it to myself, which was so uncomfortable, and I hated doing that exercise so much because at the time I didn't have the same level of self-confidence, self-worth, I had just gone through a massive breakup, and when you go through a massive breakup, whether you want it, the breakup or not, you still just go through this huge identity shift and everything just kind of breaks open. And I remember everything sort of shifted after that exercise. And I still use that exercise now for the business stuff, for all that kind of stuff. Is the person that gets to do this XYZ thing is the luckiest person because and all the positive things that can come from both sides on that.
Well, can I just interrupt? The one thing I want to add as a caveat is that I'm not necessarily saying, don't work on yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, what I mean is ask the right question, is like, how do I feel when I'm with this person? Who am I being when I'm with this person? To kind of close it out and make sure that I've covered like all of it, I stopped asking for what the person looked like, what they did for a living, and I always ask myself, how do I feel when I'm with this person?
Yeah.
And who am I being? Like, am I being better in the world?
Yeah.
Because I'm with this person, because there is a whole spiritual teaching about when we manifest soulmates and why we manifest soulmates, and the process that goes into that, which I don't have time to go into right now. But what I will say is that if we're asking small questions, we will get small answers and small people. because that question is so small. It's like, what does that person think of me? Like, think about that.
Totally.
You're sending out a whole vibration of, I don't think very much about myself.
Sure.
And I care, like the only thing I care about is what you think. And that never works.
Yep. Agreed.
It never works. And I will be speaking in the not too distant future and the book club about I think that this month topic is health and emotions, but next month I think I'm going to talk about feminine energy and thou shalt not chase that object. Thou shalt not chase that shiny man, or thou shalt not chase that shiny object. So that topic is coming because there's much to say about it.
Yeah, the being powerfully feminine and knowing how to manage the masculine and the feminine and how to navigate all that. I think that's beautiful. I love that. I love when you talk to me about this stuff. Okay.
I see the crossed arms, by the way. You think I can't see those? I can see them.
This is what happens when your mentor comes on, guys. She can pick up all the things. That was great. Thank you for teaching us tonight and for teaching me for the last 6 years. I think that there's many more things we could chat about here, but I think this is a good place to put a bookmark in it, and we'll come back. I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time and energy. We love you. And tell us where to find you. Tell us your book title too. I'll put it in the comments as well.
Amazon. The book is called Happiness is Not a Destination, 50 Countries, 50 Years, 50 Lessons.
It's a great book.
You can find me on Facebook under Miracle Catcher, and Instagram, I Create Miracles. And this Sunday, if anybody's watching and wants to listen to what the connection between our health and our emotions, this Sunday at 2:22 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I will be doing a Facebook Live and answering people's questions as they write in. And each month, we're going through the 50 chapters, and we're looking at each topic. And I'm doing a little bit of teaching, coaching, and then opening up the field for everybody's questions and get to as many as I can.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. So look for the book club, guys. We'll put some of these links in the comments. This is my second conscious conversation, and I'm not navigating Facebook comments at the same time yet, as I'm sure you can imagine, but I'll get there. Thank you so much for coming. Love you. And, we'll put all the stuff in the comments. Okay.
Great.
Have a beautiful night.
You.
Ciao, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.